Auzubillahiminasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
So before we begin our talk, so let's recite Al-Fatihah. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good evening. Thank you to everyone. So thank you for joining KICT Success Series today. So let me before we start, I hope you can fill in the attendance link. So and also please mute your microphone during the sharing session. And we will have around 30 to 40 minutes presentation from the speaker, followed by question and answer session. And if you have any questions, just write them in the chat box available. All right. So again, I would like to thank you for finding time to join this first session on Success Series at KICT, Kuliah of ICT, IIUM. So this is the first time we are having this program. So let me introduce a bit on success. Success or Supervision Skills Enhancement Series is the first webinar by our postgraduate office. So this program has several objectives. First, to help all the supervisors, especially the young supervisors, on the development of supervisory tasks. To facilitate the development of required skills and other related competencies, to stimulate interest in further professional growth. So I would say that there are few themes that being formulated to the content of Success Series. So on the supervisory strategies, communication, interpersonal relations, and time utilization. So it is hoped through this Success Series we are able to gain some ideas and tips from the honourable professors and lecturers that have experiences in supervising and graduating many postgraduate students. So for today's sharing, we will have Professor Dr. Asadullah Shah, Professor from Department of Information Systems, Kuliah of ICT, IIUM. Let me give a brief background introduction of Prof. So Professor Dr. Asadullah Shah started his career as a computer technology lecturer in 1986. Before joining IIUM in January 2011, he worked in Pakistan as a full professor from 2001 until 2010. He earned his PhD in Multimedia Communication from the University of Surrey, UK in 1998. In terms of research, Professor Asadullah has published more than 300 articles in ISI and Scopus Index publications. He also has published 13 books, which out of the 2 books are on research methodologies. And in 2019, he is also being awarded by IIUM during the IIUM Takrim Day for being the top 30 contributors to IIUM's research performance. As for supervisions, Dr. Asadullah has supervised many students, 27 graduated students, PhD as a main supervisor, 8 co-supervisor for 8 graduated students. And as for current, he is now supervising 5 students as the main supervisor and 3 as the co-supervisor. He also supervised 7 master students. And currently, he also becomes chair 8 of chair of committee. So without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker, Prof. Dr. Asadullah, to share his topic, Desired Supervision Skills, for our first series. Please welcome, Prof.
Thank you, Dr. Siti Asma. I think it's a great honor for me to present something which I really like to present and share my experience with especially the youngsters. Those who have just joined us, really they're keen to do supervision and to see through their career that how the supervision can be very effective for them, for their candidates, and so on and so forth. So sharing of this, of course, is from other references as well. I have taken, I share my own experiences as well. And you are welcome to ask any questions if you like. It's a long journey that I'm gone through, at least supervision from mid-90s I started. And then I was mostly doing my PhD and master's. And then, of course, when I joined IUM, this was a great opportunity for me to basically push it through what I wanted to. Alhamdulillah, I'm successful. These are the desired skills for any supervisor who really intend to make supervision as a career. Because when you think about the universities, usually there can be research tracks and there can be a teaching track. Okay, so though we don't have this segregation in the tracks, but we do both teaching as well as research, which obviously is a difficult task to do both things and achieve the best of your efforts. Today's talk, I will just introduce a bit the roles of universities in knowledge, discovery. I don't use word creation. PhD supervisors' roles, qualities and skills required in a PhD candidate, skills required for a PhD supervisor, meeting time schedules and scales, time scale assessment of the candidate, expectations of supervisors versus the candidate, vice versa, trust versus vulnerabilities between supervisor and the candidate. There are references at the end and there are questions and answers which we will inshallah answer to those who raise any question. So if you look at this roles of universities in the knowledge generation, then there are three roles the universities can play. New knowledge generation. I don't write creation here because knowledge is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We only generate or discover it. Knowledge generation through research and innovations. Knowledge storage. Universities can, through libraries and databases, access to the graduates, teaching and research community. And third one is a knowledge dissemination through teaching activities, seminars, workshops, intellectual talks, and other related activities. So this is the university's part where universities have to play. Remember that university is a word driven out of universe. So the role of university is seen as a universal role. And without research, we cannot, at least one of the components at the university level to be the universal. Actually, the real meaning of the university is through the research and dissemination of the knowledge. We generate new knowledge and disseminate it. So basically, research is the process of discovering knowledge. Yeah, it's a discovery, it's not creation. Discovery of new knowledge Why discovery? Because knowledge is created by Allah, which is already there. We research. Okay? We human being can only discover it, and human being cannot be a creator. So to me, it's very important that it has to be knowledge discovery rather than knowledge creation. We don't create anything. So what is the PhD research all about? There are 4 things. We need our replacement. So we need researchers of the future. We need to fill the gap in knowledge, which is contribute to the scientific and intellectual knowledge on existing body of knowledge on the subject matters. Then third, advancement of the knowledge, advancement of the new and innovative understanding about the truth and reality of the objects based on new findings and evidences. Yeah, which is very important to know the truth about the reality of an object. You might have heard this word, quite common, and Western philosophers usually fail to define this advancement of knowledge and discovery. Solution to the problem. So we may fill up the gap, we may have some advancement, we may have an existing problem, and that may be solved in an efficient way, and so on. Okay, so we need replacement, we need gap filling, we need advancement of the knowledge, and solution to the problem. So when you talk about the roles of the supervisors and a supervisory team, then usually you have main supervisor, one person clearly responsible for supervising the candidate, the student, co-supervisor, which is an additional person who assists the process of supervision, and he should be closely related to the main topic and title areas, and the supervisory committee looking after the progress of the candidate. We have more points to discuss. The main point of contact for a student is the main supervisor. So must have contributed, main supervisor must have contributed in the body of knowledge through peer-reviewed literature. Okay, people are now raising questions on peer review and kind of things, but we don't want to go into the discussion of it. The supervisor has to be open and honest relationship with the candidate. Both supervisor and student must understand the rules defined by the institutions. Okay, so there is boundary between student and supervisor and rules of terms of the trade. If difference occur, there should be clear and explicit route to resolve the problem. Okay, which is a common practice that differences occur. We'll discuss these a bit later on. Further to the roles of supervisor, guidance and advice. So he has to guide and advise to the student, monitoring progress of the research, regular contact and accessibility, input to the students' developmental needs, giving feedbacks on students' work, ensuring ethical conduct, encouraging interaction with others, because the students usually avoid others, meaning the people in the same area all around, and updating own skills to be suitable for any role of an effective supervisor. So supervisor has to update himself or herself so that can be suitable skills, new skills, like, say for example, analysis tools, SPSS, then there is third or fourth generation skills needed, no at least, as a supervisor to guide the students. There are so many roles Of course, you can be a director, you can be a facilitator, you can be an advisor, teacher, guide, critic, freedom giver, supporter, friend, manager, and examiner. Okay. On the left side of this right side of the table, you see a little bit description, determining topic and method, providing idea, providing access to resources or expertise, arranging fieldwork, helping to resolve technical problems, suggesting alternatives, yeah? Teacher of research techniques, which is also very important, suggesting timetable for writing up, giving feedback on progress, identifying typical path for data collection, yeah? Critic of design of inquiry, of draft chapters of interpretations or data, freedom giver, authorize students to make decisions, support students' decision, gives encouragement, shows interest, and discusses the students' ideas. So you are basically supporting them. Whether those ideas are vague, they are not really clear still. Extends interest and concern to non-academic aspect of students' life. Sometimes there is a lot of work students need to have and support it other than academic work. Checks progress regularly, monitors study, gives systematic feedback and plans work, and examiner, which is of course the supervisor, they have internal examiner, mock viva, interim progress report, supervisory board members. You see, if you look at this, a complete chart, then supervisor has a lot of role to play. Further on it, individual student may have different needs. Remember that students are coming from a different backgrounds. They are not same. Their previous background is not same. Their culture is not same. So support required may be different from student to student. Assuming that you have 5 to 10 students, then each one of it is coming from a different background. And of course, they need and support is different. Support required as early as possible. So earlier is the better, before it is too late. Need to have an awareness of the range of support available to the student and how to access it, which can be technical support or equipment support or lab support or supervision support or any kind of other guidance. Should be aware of the rules and procedures dealing with extension and suspension. This is also one of the very important that the students and supervisors both should know the extension and suspension of the studies related. The rules and regulations by the organizations must be put into place before they actually start. And frequency of contact. Frequent the better in earlier stages. Okay? So how often do you meet to a candidate? Is better you meet frequently, and then at later stages you don't need to meet so frequently. Otherwise, it can cause a problem. Now let us see research skills required for a candidate. Candidate should recognize the problem, or formulate research questions, research objectives, formulate research hypotheses, which are assumptions, yeah, tentative solutions to a problem, yeah, yet to be tested and verified. Knowledge of recent advancement in the topic chosen, which can come through the literature review. Critical appraisal of data, which has been analyzed and extracted to the required level. Understanding of research methodologies, methods, and designs. Qualitative versus quantitative versus predictive versus descriptive versus experimental or whatever, deterministic. So all that must be needed, and for which research methodology course we have, and many institutions offer to give the ideas of the research methodologies or processes. And candidate must be able to document, summarize, and reflect. Reflect means synthesize. So you must assess this student from the abilities, skills he might have. Further to skills by the candidate is to demonstrate, interpret, and communicate knowledge through presentations, seminars, conference papers, and our peer-reviewed publications with impact factor journals. Be able to defend thesis work before the examiners. Be the best in the world in that day of the defense. Ideally, this should how it should be. That no one is knowledgeable beyond him, yeah, on that day when he defends his thesis. Demonstrate systematic extension of the knowledge of the subject area and take active role in developing relation among like-minded professionals and participants in further progress of the knowledge discovery in the same role. So these are basically required skills, yeah, for a candidate to be a success. Okay, the further rate, a candidate, these are the qualities of a candidate. Yeah, a candidate must be a competent, reliable, self-directed individual. Solve a problem through persuasive way till it is solved meaningfully. Persuasive means step by step. Full understanding of the research process, which is methodologies, methods, and design, we have already discussed. Full practical, applied, and theoretical useful usage of the research output, which is basically the outcomes at the end of the day. Be aware of the ethical aspects of it, yeah? Especially when you are talking about human involvement or other aspects and ethical issues. Very important. He should know about it. And there are certain responsibilities of the student, such as observe institutional rules. Our postgraduate office have rules and they are being updated time and again. These rules must be provided to the students when they join. Safe handling and usage of equipment. If we have any equipment, professional and ethical relationships must be maintained. Participation and contribution to the research community. Attendance of prescribed courses, such as audit courses, research method, and Islamic worldview, we do here. Recording and safekeeping of the data is the responsibility of the candidate, yeah, to know about rules and regulations, relationship, ethical issues, participation and contribution to the community, research community, yeah, attending the courses and recording and safekeeping data. Okay, now let us see. The supervisors must to clear the rules defined by the institutions and their graduates. Yeah. Okay. So rules, as I said, are already available in our institution here at PG level and CPS level. Institutional guidebook indicating clear rules for PhD supervisor and to the students. How is the progress of the candidate monitored, such as progress monitoring rules biannually, annually, and so on should be followed. Thesis submission rules, requirements of publications, seminar, colloquiums attended by the candidate as a requirement. Rule of misconduct, plagiarism, and copy from others are unethical issues. Compliance and appeals to resolve issues among the parties, the supervisory committee, and the candidate. What we have observed is we don't have it. Maybe we have research committee, but we don't have departmental supervisory committee. Yeah. So I think we need to have for each department a departmental supervisory committee other than this is the departmental, not the thesis supervisory committee. This is the departmental supervisory committee. Look after all the PhD MS candidates. We don't have it at KICT. This is a committee other than supervisory committee. So 2 to 3 people can be basically in this committee where they can basically monitor the overall progress of if any the rules are being followed, any conflict occur or any unethical issue arise. Yeah, because issue can be with the supervisor and the candidate, therefore there should be a separate committee to resolve it. Well, research is basically having this environmental map. Yeah? You have physical, you have human, you have mental linkages and educations, especially applied on the candidate as well as on the supervisors. Yeah? Suitably equipped with IT facilities. This is the physical environment. Human, which is appropriate supervisory arrangements must be there. So any candidate applies for PhD must have a supervisory committee as a supervisor. A mental linkages, contact with others in the field of the exchange of ideas, and then education. A contact with others to learn new techniques, methods, and processes. This is the overall environment for the research, which is very much required, okay, at Kulia level or the organization level, okay, especially the Kulia level. We are talking about Kulia. At the same time, there is a support required for the supervisor development also. Supervisors are new entrant in the fields, emotionally competent leadership as well as technical and intellectual mentorship is required of academic leaders, yeah, who must establish a good rapport and high quality student supervisor relationship. Yeah, is quoted from the paper of Jaram and Carl, yeah, which is referred back. So meaning that for the the youngsters, there is a way to basically uplift their skills and leadership skills, the supervisory and for the student supervisory relationships. Now let us talk about the time scale of meetings, yeah, between the supervisor and supervisee. Yeah, there are 5 scales, 5 or 6 you can see. There can be a formal meeting per week to ensure ongoing contact and support. Frequent informal meeting on availability of the supervisor. Informal meeting also because students, they expect sometimes to meet informally rather than weekly. Weekly meeting, which is a group formal meetings. Monthly meeting may be written report on progress during the report month, individual or group together, presentations, plan for the next month, and so on and so forth. So each candidate in a month at least write a report on the progress, either to present in a group where its supervisor is having group or an individual, also indicate the progress for the next month, what is to be done. Meeting and demand, which is urgent meeting to discuss other matters in support of the work. And there is a 6 monthly meeting. This is where the whole supervisory committee should meet. So far you see this meeting is being done by the supervisor and the supervisor, not co-supervisor or whole committee, okay? Whereas when whole committee is going to meet, then 6-month meeting will be sufficient enough to monitor the progress of any candidate. So what is the role of the co-supervisors and the committee? Of course, the co-supervisor closely related to the candidate's field, some sort of support required. This is very important in case if main supervisor slips out, at least there should be someone who can take over. So co-supervisor may meet in monthly meeting. Monthly, where the student submits the report and presents this report and so on. Full committee meets at least biannually, one per each semester. This is my suggestion. Assess the candidate progress, monitor and assess the progress. Bad performer can be issued warning of delays in the completion. So you see that when you meet biannually, then you will know basically what is the progress of the candidate, and whole committee is aware of it, and you can issue the warning that to that particular candidate for the delay in their progress. Time scale assessment, further, you can see this first year, say for example, second year and the third and fourth year, what is expected? Brief written report and oral defense to the presented progress report. This is the annual report. Burning issues at the moment, because we don't have it. I have never seen it. Annual report to check whether candidate may or may not be allowed to continue further. Okay, we have such cases in past that the candidates might have been already excused to leave the kuliah rather than having with us for many years. We don't have it. I think this must be maintained. In a very first year, if you see that if progress is not very well, the report is not up to the date, a proposal defense is not done, many excuses by the candidate, then probably we can just say sorry and discontinue. Second year, may present posters and conference papers, because second year is expected whole year that the student might have done some research work according to the progress which has been reported and monitored by the committee. Third and fourth year, publish journal papers and give talks to the group of juniors and the department faculty. So maybe we don't have this component either. If student reaches to third, fourth year, we might, of course, they do papers, but we might even ask them to present it to the bigger crowd, including the faculty, to see their progress. Any other requirement of publication as per rules and procedures set by the institution department as a graduating requirement. So this is the time scale which is to be seen year-wise, and we can avoid the issues of those critical cases. Now, this is expectations, supervisor versus supervisee. In this table, you see on the supervisor side, supervisor expect their research student to be independent, even though some aspects of the research process require conformity. Follow their advice, especially when requested by the student. Produce written work that is fairly polished. Have regular meetings. Be honest when reporting progress, and be excited about the work, and be determined. It is very important. If somebody is not determined for his work, I don't think that candidate can basically. So it may come as the first component. First, they have to be very determined that they are going to do it. And on the other side of the table, students expect their supervisor to supervise them, read their work well, and provide feedback. Available when needed. We have already given in the previous slides the time schedule. Be friendly and open and supportive. Structure sessions to support easy exchange of ideas. Have good knowledge of the research area, and have sufficient interest in their research to put more information in the student's path. So students also expect a lot from the supervisor, and supervisor expect from the supervisee, and vice versa. It's very important to keep the balance between two. The situations can be very critical, and students where students may or may not expect help from a supervisor. Conditions are there. Consider whether the students are being realistic, too demanding, and problematic. I think this is the situation. Yeah. In the first situation, realistic is fine, but too demanding and problematic, a student may not get any help from the supervisors. And what we should do is, what issues are raised, what should you do to set up good practices from the start. So if that issue arises, it is too much demanding, too much problematic, okay, which you have observed, then you have to decide accordingly. Yeah? Students can be very demanding sometimes and very problematic due to various reasons. Okay, so this situation is also very critical to be considered and understood in case if someone falls into that particular situation. Further, there are expectations also. Student expect supervisor to be available whenever needed, although you can plan regular supervisions. Students need to know you are approachable in between more formal sessions if necessary to ask key questions. This will especially save their time. So supervisor may be whatever, as though it is not a formal session, but they still can suggest and meet the students. Students expect supervisors to be friendly, open, and supportive with academic issues and establish a consultative, supportive relationship. This is also extremely important, very, very successful. And I have myself personally gone through these all experiences. I leave my doors open, though it is very difficult to manage other things, but a small issue of 5 to 10 minutes can save their weeks and months waiting. So it is much easier that they build the confidence that they can move on. Supervisors need to be constructively critical, not unnecessarily critical. Yeah? Giving praise where relevant and informative, not harsh criticism. So they can develop their work further. It's very important. You can criticize, but if it is too harsh, then this will discourage the student and probably a negative impact on the student and progress of the student. Gradually, students should need less explicit guidance and criticism as they develop autonomy and their own sound judgment. So you critically, constructively advise them, and ultimately they become independent rather than dependent on supervisor. Supervisors need to know to ask open questions, how to draw out ideas and clarify or define problems, and how to elicit information. Yeah, so the support is needed. Your students will need to interact with other students you supervise in your group. Those researching similar topics, students supervised by other supervisors and the broader academic community. So there can be frequent communication between the groups at the seniors and juniors together learn from each other. Okay, this can also be advised. I do the same. Final bit is the trust versus vulnerability. Vulnerability is inherent in the process of research. Supervisors can help a student build security by providing safe spaces to test their abilities. Trust is built by creating certainty from uncertainty. Yeah, piecemeal over time, because research is uncertain. Where trust is not present, a student is more likely to isolate themselves. Isolation meaning delay. Okay, and this will be a problem. Okay, with that, this is the bibliography. You see some of the references which I have basically cited in my presentation. And thank you very much. This is my last slide. Okay, so now you're welcome to ask questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. So I open the floor if anyone to ask questions.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Prof.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Yes, I have a question, although, and also some suggestion too. It is now become very critical to most of our staffs, especially the new ones who doesn't have students. Okay, the PG office is trying to strategize how to help those new staff to get students for supervision. So I believe, based on experience with you, you have many students. So how can at least you help the new staffs to at least attract students, get students, even one?
I think a very good question, how you can attract and appeal a question. Let me share my experience with you, okay? And my experience is this, that when I have a background, I'm coming from a country where I had very good, excellent exposure at various institutions up there in my country. And the students started coming due to my exposure in the beginning, of course. Then students, once they were satisfied with the work, there was a word of mouth. Those students went back, or those students and their friends, of course, in working in various countries, they suggested them to come and do PhD and so on and so forth. But this is a story very special. What I do is this, and we can, whenever I receive any request from any student from any part of the world, then it is very hard for the student to take. I immediately respond back and immediately respond and suggest, of course, how he can be helped from seeking admission and so on and so forth. And up to the end, once they submit their applications, I follow up their applications and they arrive finally at the kuliah. Okay. Again, this is very special case. Not everybody can do it. So you are true that we have now big shortage. Not many students are coming in. I think in that situation, in order to boost our supervisors and supervisors' capability, the fresh ones, we need to give them chance to join us as men. And you see that recently there was a policy by our kuliah, and I agree with them, that we had enough supervisees. Now let us share some, as many as we have, not many because of this COVID, and then make the juniors as main supervisors, and we attach as a co or as share. So I think this is one way that we encourage, and this will help the juniors to build the confidence also. Once we have combined meetings with the candidates, wherever we have, one or two, then they start learning from there the tricks of the trade. And I think once or twice, once they reach to the final vows for their candidate, I'm sure that they are sufficiently equipped with the knowledge, as well as they are familiar. Okay, their PhD students can talk about to join, talk about the supervisor with their other colleagues to come and join. So this is a pool of push and pull coming factor. And I think this is one way which is in our hand. Students are not, many students are not coming in and joining us. Of course, they will join the senior people, not the junior. But we suggest those after joining us that we are in a team to supervise. This is the rule. And in a team, me, Dr. Moni, Prof. Imad, Prof. Akram, anybody else will be one of those supervisors, which is same like you have, though we are not named, but still we are in a committee to supervise you. I think this also helps. Okay, it also helps. So I think you need to be really, you need to have a good strategy currently because we are short of many PhDs, whereas we have a number of new supervisors joining us. I think we can do that. Okay, by sharing our expertise, let them join us as a team in whatever capacity, as a core, as a main. We can sacrifice that and let them develop their skills. And I'm sure that without that will be with that will be no problem. That after a certain 1 or 2 years, 3 years or 4 years down the road, they will have people coming in and joining them. I hope I have answered your question. It's a long answer.
Yeah, actually, we still cannot figure. The only findings that we get, I think, just last week, in some of the kuliah in Pantan, that what they do, the senior professors, they sell the junior professors. That means the senior professors and some of the associate professors, they used to sell the younger ones that are in the kuliah. They advertise them, they try to tell good thing about them, and any work they make them representable. If student comes, they sell the student to those staff. So they are the ones that like they are nursing the junior one, so exposing them in a way that they take over everything.
Yeah, you see, my example maybe is a unique example in the kuliah as well. I must say that I have 8, 9 people. I made them somehow because of it's because they have to continue and we have to go out. So give them a main role. And then we went through all this learning process and all of them completed their PhDs. None of them, no candidate. And now if you ask all those students up there which are graduated, they know who's the supervisor, who's in which field, who can help how much help is required, what is the role of the committee. If someone senior in the committee, meaning almost the same as supervisor, something like that, we have to give information. So I think, to me, I think I don't mind to invite as many as, though I have only 5 here, but the 5 is also a good number because we don't have students. And I think I suggest to Dr. Moni as well that there are 4 or 5 new students coming in. And I have not seen any supervisor allocated to them. So maybe this is a beginning of sharing those 4 or 5 students. There are 4 of them are coming from my country, and one is coming from, well, he was our student as well, did masters with us, 5, and there are other applications in the queue, so we can share with them, with all our colleagues. But we need to know who is interested to join us. Okay, it doesn't really matter. We don't want, at least I'm okay with minimum number. More I can have supervisors, juniors in my team, and they can continue. We are focusing on different fields, of course, and people we have now, so they can join. And sometimes we learn from them also.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Dr.
Thank you to Dr. Adamu for the questions. Okay, Prof, there are some other questions too. So one question is, how do you tolerate for postgraduate students that are doing part-time because they are working full-time? So actually making their progress delay?
Yeah, I think part-time is understood that part-timer will be delayed. But again, what schedule I have given to you in my slides was for the full-time. And part-timer is at maximum time, which is 6 years plus, 6 years and so on. So I think you can schedule accordingly, but it has to be well-structured schedule. Okay, so they are doing their job, they are busy in the job, but they don't forget that they have another responsibility to see the supervisor. And it's structured. So you can well structured 4 or 5 or 6 years and issue them a target. Yeah? Papers, conference, reports, yeah, and finally thesis submissions, and so on and so forth. If it is well structured over the time period, even if they are doing part-time, I'm sure that they will come up with something useful at the end of the day and complete their PhD. So we understand the part-timer is an issue, but part-timer is also our student, and he has to know all the skills which a regular student may have. Okay, regular student do it within shorter period of time, whereas they have to do it in extended time, but still they have to do the same thing. So no compromise upon the quality, whereas it is the structure. I think structure is needed, very much needed, in order to see their progress and monitor it. If they cannot do it, then we know that we have an excuse. If they do it regularly and given support from the supervisor, then I think shouldn't be any issue except is the timing. Yeah? So they have to go for extended time period, whereas the full-timers, they are a bit faster. So no issue. I think as long as the PhD scope, PhD work, the objective they have to achieve, skill they have to learn, still same. But the structure of meetings has to be different. It's not you finish in 3 years, but now you finish in 4 years or 5 years. But you need to structure it. Without a structure, you cannot. You just leave it open and let them come anytime they like. Yeah, they'll disappear. And I think they will have a problem later on. So better you structure their activities right from the beginning and monitor very closely, and then later on you will have no difficulty, inshallah. So I think it needs structure. Yeah, and of course a strong committee, supervisory committee. It's not just alone the supervisor. Committee has to be very strong to monitor carefully the progress.
Okay. So another question is, how do you adapt your supervisory style to different style of student? Because some students, they are fast learner, some is slow learner,
Yeah,
because
I think
the art of
I think fast learner is very easy to be identified. You know, I think mostly the fast learner in first 6 months is very clear that this guy or this candidate is very fast. Yeah, she understands very well the things, and you can identify them. Slow learner needs a lot of help. Lot of help, I tell you, but you have to be patient. You understand that this candidate is very slow candidate and very demanding as well. I give you an example. My candidate, which I submitted thesis already, she is from one of the Arab countries, and she was with Prof. Husna, and of course Prof. Husna left, so went to other team, and from that team, they sent it to me because very demanding. Okay, no time limit. There is 5 hours difference, and any time there, they think it's still day in Malaysia, and they keep calling. And I tell you that for first 2, 3, 4 months, I just was so polite and telling her to do what? Anytime on WhatsApp, on mobile phone, on email, sometimes ask me things which he is supposed to do, like what is sampling, and then I have to explain, and also at the same time say, sister, you go and read such and such book. And then the student has a habit to speak a lot. And I say, sister, you don't speak too much. Listen to me. Okay, prof, okay. And then after a while, again speak. I said, sister, I said you, listen to me. Don't speak too much. Okay? Don't talk too much. Okay? Because then you talking, I'm listening. I know you have a problem, but let us solve it. And alhamdulillah, I think very demanding, as you see, very demanding candidate. And then we submitted thesis. Done. Within no time, within 1 year, I guess. So as a supervisor, you must take it as a challenge. Some students can be very challenging, very demanding, and you need to have a right skills to guide them. Okay? Of course, limit them, not to leave them too open. Give them a deadline and work, and suggest them how to do it. Let them read it out, come up, no matter right or wrong. You just give a quick feedback and send them back. I did it. It was month of Ramadan, and then I tell you that how difficult it was for me to handle that. But I did it. Alhamdulillah, submitted. So waiting for our. So I tell you that this variety of students very difficult, but you have to be patient. You need to have a good skill. You need to understand the psyche and the culture of those candidates, especially Middle Eastern students are very demanding. Their knowledge is not really up to date. And sometimes they blame you, the supervisor doesn't give me guidance properly, whereas it's their fault. It's not, but still you have to be patient enough to listen to them and then guide. All of them, almost whoever came from Middle East are sorted out. Almost all of them. This was the most demanding candidate from Middle East. And alhamdulillah, we handled. So, of course, with the age, you can be like me. You just listen sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you suggest, but you should know the right way. Yeah, right channel to suggest. Yeah, sometimes they can be very aggressive.
Just because we don't want to be like spoon-fed.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it is not. You don't. You tell them, give them a hint, and suggest them do this and come back to me. I'll be waiting for you after 2 days. I listen quickly. Engage them. If you leave them, okay, this is what you can go, and then after one month, they will come with the same issue. Don't leave them until the issue is resolved or understood by them. Okay. So otherwise, they will just be lazy. Okay, supervisor said do this, I'll do this. And after a month, you may see that the same thing again. Same demand, same thing. Yeah. So keep them engaged very well if they are stuck up with the problem. I think this issue will be. And it's not spoon feeding. I never do it. I suggest go and do this. Okay, if sometimes the students come and I feel that he doesn't know, even if I try to explain to him, then I direct him to my senior student who has done similar work. So I suggest, please go and see Shamrat, say for example, go and see Yaqub, say for example, in my group, and they'll guide you, because then student to student guidance is fearless. And when you guide them, they don't understand. They are panic. They fear that supervisor might think that I'm dull, I'm useless, and kind of things. It may happen that way. So then you try to have another channel to guide them, or another colleague in other group, which this is where they have to maintain relationship between colleagues. Then they can learn. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you, Prof, for the sharings and inputs. I think it's already time. So I would like to thank you again, Prof, for agreeing to give some tips for the seminar. So, and I also would like to thank everyone who joined the session this evening. So we hope to see you again next time. So we will have, inshallah, we will have this series through every month, once a month. Okay. So I think we can end the session. So let's end with Tasbih Kifara and Surah Al-As.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Dr. Asma. Thank you, everybody. I think I was expecting a lot of them, but they did not appear. I don't know why. Juniors should have joined, yeah. Because this will help them in future career. Anyway, no problem. We can send them these slides. Just go through it. If you like, you share with them. Inshallah, let them benefit out. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Welcome.